Why, hello there. It's me, Jeremy, your favorite bald dude telling you about Standard and Strange, a store and a brand with simple rules. Sell clothes they themselves would wear, manufacture it ethically, and build it to last. From boots made in Oregon to loop wheel garments made in Japan, find all the best clothes for your wardrobe at Standard and Strange. StandardandStrange.com. Hey folks, it's Blammo. I'm Jeremy Kirkland. How are we all doing? We hanging in there? Life got you down? Look, I had an amazing weekend. Did a bunch of fall stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Fall stuff being like taking the fam to get donuts and buy overpriced pumpkins. By the way, I feel like I'm the only parent who has a kid that wants white pumpkins. We literally had like 10,000 pumpkins to choose from, and she wants the ones that are easier to draw on. I don't know. We told her you can paint pumpkins instead of cutting them. Makes them last longer. But, I guess respect. She wants the white pumpkins. I mean, whatever, bud. But it's always funny going to these places because you have this dichotomy of people who are obviously, all over the place. You got some that are really mad they're there and they're upset about the line and, there's just people and or someone upset about the weather, just mad at everything. And you got these other parents screaming at their kids while they're trying to take a photo op of, like yelling at like, just stay still. Come on. Like, Margaret, just don't move. And it's it's a great time. You got the full buffet of families. Love it. Anyone else doing fall stuff? Look, I'll just be honest. I just want to wear my coats. I want to eat my cider donut and wear all my outerwear. That's it. I'm a simple guy. Paul Feig is here this week for the three-peat. Oh, man, I got to say, big shout out to him. Paul is he's just always incredibly nice, and he'll talk about anything. It was great as we kind of just went into this amazing discussion just on how to tell stories and what rules to follow, and he practically did a masterclass of what to do. But we talked about clothes, but ended up making our way to food, and homie just let it fly. Excited for y'all to hear it. We also talked getting fits off while making the School for Good and Evil, the best eats in London, his upcoming book Cocktail Time, life in the gin world, and defending Stanley Tucci's Negroni. You heard it here first. His new film, School for Good and Evil, premieres this month, October 19th on Netflix. Let's go, folks. How have you been?
I've been good. I've just been making a movie for the last 2.5 years, the same movie. But very fun. I mean, I'm really happy with it. We're almost finished, literally almost finished.
This is School for Good and Evil?
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, it's been almost 3 years since I found the script. But we started prep 2.5 years ago, and here we are.
And it's like a juggernaut of a film. Is this one of your biggest films ever in terms of like production and length?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, Ghostbusters was big too, but I think this is bigger than that one because that was also like working in the real world versus we've created an entire world, from the ground up. So, which I've always wanted to do. So that's been really exciting, just to go, okay, we're going to just design everything, like build it from the bottom up. It's based on a book, but the book didn't give a lot of guidance as far as how it's going to look and all that. And the stuff they did have, we changed. Just because I was trying, I wanted to make sure we weren't going to feel like Harry Potter, because we're playing in that world. But it was really fun to try to avoid that. So I'm happy.
Has that been a different muscle for you to flex? Because I mean, you've obviously done a lot of real world films but like, I feel like, for when someone mentions Paul Feig, it's like Bridesmaids or, it's like really crazy, like sharp comedy. Mm-hmm. And this doesn't seem like it's exactly that, obviously, just based on my knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, everything I do, even when it seems like it's weird, you kind of go, oh, okay. Once you see it, you're like, all right, that makes sense. Like, this is basically, a female friendship story about these two young women who are, best friends, and they get put in this really crazy situation, which is not too far off from Freaks and Geeks being stuck in a high school, and then there's bullies and crazy stuff happens, which, there's definitely comedy in it. I always want to make sure everything I do is kind of fun in that way. But, it's just like when I did Simple Favor and Spy and all those things.
Right.
You're in a genre and you don't want to fuck with the genre. You know, you just want to have fun with the genre, but you don't want to make fun of the genre. You know what I mean? So treat the genre first and foremost with the most respect and play by its rules, but then have fun bending the rules and playing with, not how seriously people take it, but the characters take it, but just what fun they can have within a world that is normally treated very seriously by its characters. You know, like you're not laughing a lot during Game of Thrones, you know, and you're not even laughing that much during Harry Potter. It's fun, you know, but you're not like, you know, there's not a lot of hard laughs in that. And, you know, we try to get as many as we can in without being, you know, making fun of, for lack of a better term.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. I think that's always like a different, you know, an interesting like act to try to do, is because you're world building and you're also trying to remind people that, oh, we're still in a real world and that we're going to kind of lean on humor to be okay with the reality of that world.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's the way I face everything in my career, which is the circumstances can be insane, but it has to be real people in those circumstances so that you're not just going like, well, why are they acting like that? Or they're not acting in a way I can relate to, which, you know, some people do great. Some of this fantasy stuff, you know, I mean, it's going back to Game of Thrones or any of these kind of things, they're not acting like we would act, you know, in general, but we're kind of going, oh my God, it's so cool because they're acting the way you would in that world, you know, and so a world seems to bring its own rules where we just go, oh, I guess that's how people act. You know, it's like when you go to a Shakespeare play, you just go, oh, that's how they talked back then, you know, whether it was true or not, you know, that's your only take on it. But so that's what's interesting about creating a world that is timeless, because that's what this one is. I mean, you know, for all intents and purposes, it kind of looks like it takes place in medieval times, but it's not really, because then we use, you know, colloquialisms and, you know, they're not talking thee and thy and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but then you're kind of in the world of like, well, we don't want to be so kind of, hey, we're, you know, they're making modern references back then, you know, so it's just kind of more, all has to be people talking like people, you know, and not tied to any specific era anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, that's like storytelling masterclass. Like, you've been in the industry for a while making, you know, tons of very successful stuff. Like, has there been something that was like a turning point for you within that where you're like, oh, I need to look at characters this way? I mean, I will say it's within Freaks and Geeks, but like you've always had a very this like empathetic relationship between your characters and your viewers.
Yeah, well, it's you process it in the process, if you will. You know, when I did the movie I Am David, one of my least successful movies of all time, one of the least successful movies of all time, not even just mine. You know, that was it was source material. It was right after Freaks and Geeks. It was about, you know, it's a famous book here in Europe, or it was for a while, that kids read in school, about a young boy who grows up in a communist labor camp and escapes to find his mother. And, you know, so, you know, back after World War II. So, you know, it's not exactly relatable. And yet to me, I was like, no, this is Freaks and Geeks. It's just, you know, what's the difference between a horrible communist labor camp and being stuck in high school? Really, you know,
that's actually
as far
true,
as I'm concerned, in my experiences, it's not that far off. So, you know, but then it was kind of like, well, it's a period thing, so I should do this and that. But it all came back around to, no, but it's got to be funny, and, you know, it's got to have funny moments, you know. But that one was probably my most dramatic of all my movies, even though I tried to inject comedy into it. But no, there's certain moments, like when I was doing Spy, you know, again, I wanted to be very true to the spy genre because I love the spy genre, and I didn't want it to be a spoof, which sometimes people call it a spoof, and it just enrages me. How dare you? Because I think it's a good spy, you know, it's got a good spy story.
It is.
Yeah, no, it's fun. But, you know, like we were shooting one scene and, you know, where Rose Byrne's character has Melissa's character tied up, and, you know, she finds, you know, Bradley finds alive and all that stuff. And it was just starting to become wacky because we were starting to play with jokes that were a little more kind of out there. And immediately you know, by no fault of anybody's except my own, I went like, oh God, this is really taking a turn not good, because now it's just becoming silly, you know, and there's no danger. And you know, the only way these things work and they're fun is if there is danger, if the fear of death hangs over that genre, even if the characters are extreme and they're crazy. If you go like, oh, well, they're just silly, they're not going to do anything, then it all falls apart. So those are those kind of moments you go like, okay, no, let's get back on track. we can still do these jokes that are insulting each other, but the attitude can't become wacky. The attitude still has to be gravitas, major gravitas.
Oh my God, yeah. Because, I don't know why, but I've been rewatching all of the Zaz films, like Naked Gun and Hot Shots 1 and 2, and there is a silliness in there that, like, obviously, which I think it's some of the best comedy.
So fun.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, there's no you're not really concerned.
Well, they're doing straight up satire, parody, and that's, I love it. I mean, Airplane is one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, that movie still to this day just destroys me. But they are going and saying, we are literally going to make fun of the LL Airplane has a giant beard. So you kind of know where you're at, and that's fine because it's all about you have to set the ground rules. In any movie, you set the ground rules in the first 5 minutes, and the ground rules can be insane. But as long as you go like, this movie's going to be insane and you stick with it, it's great. One of my favorite movies of all time is Moulin Rouge. And I remember when that movie first came out, a lot of people were like, I left after the first 5 minutes. It was so crazy. I was like, yeah, it's kind of crazy, but Baz sets the tone. He says, like, there's going to be crazy sound effects in this. There's going to be weird things happening. But if you stick with it and get into this, you're going to go into this world that is this, over the top world that is filled with over the top emotion. And it's one of the most emotional movies I've ever seen. And once you stick with it, you just go, okay, this is going way back. Remember the Wilson, not Owen Wilson, but his brother, made that movie, The Brothers. It was about an Irish.
The Brothers Grimm?
No. It was a low budget movie called it was like about a pair of Irish brothers. And it was one of the very first kind of indies to really take off. He shot on 16 millimeter. It was really looked very low budget. And so, a lot of people are like, oh, it looks so terrible. I can't even watch it. But once you get into it, 5 minutes in, that becomes the norm. You're like, okay, this is just how this movie looks. But, so it's literally long and the short of this. All people care about is a good story. If you treat it right and you treat it real and you say, this is what the movie is right up front and you stick with it and you don't change the rules halfway through, then you can get away with anything if it's good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and I think that's the thing where it's like, even all the movies that you've made, there's a through line though, where I feel like you have a deeper connection with the characters that you've created, versus some of the other things. Like that's even in things where it's like, I can't relate to, say, like Bridesmaids, for example. I can't relate to the female protagonist in a lot of ways, but I can because of all these other human emotions that she's experiencing.
Yeah, exactly. The characters are all that matter. You have to have the characters first, and then you put them into the story that is appropriate for those characters. And what happens with a lot of movies is the story comes first, and then characters are added into the story. And sometimes it can work great, but a lot of times that's why you feel this weird disconnect, or, it's all this plot's going. And then now let's stop for this character moment or this scene where two people talk. And now let's get out of that. Now we do more action driving things forward versus what the characters are doing is informing the plot and affecting the plot by their decision making and their emotions and all that. So I'm always trying to build everything from the character first. Even with Spy, which I was like, I want to make a spy movie and it's going to be about, trying to sell this small nuclear bomb. But then immediately went, okay, but who is my main character? Who's my James Bond, my female James Bond? And what are her issues that are going to make me want to A, relate with her, B, follow her, and C, just really have empathy for her and kind of live through her. And so that once I had that, and I was like, okay, now the rest is let's just have fun with the tropes of a spy.
Yeah, Spy is like easily one of my top 3 films.
Oh
ever.
My God.
Like we watched it. Yeah. I mean, I've told you this in other pods, but like we watch it at least every year, a couple times a year. Like it just like becomes something that we'll just like put on because even after like, I know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly what, we've watched it. We watched the uncut version. I mean, it's a phenomenal film,
thanks.
Which is supposedly happening again.
No, that's like, it's so funny. Like stuff pops up on IMDb and people are like, oh my God. And it's like, it's news to me. I would love to make another one. Sure. I mean, it's, I kind of know what the second one would be. It's pretty funny. Funny setup, if I say so myself. But yeah, I mean, so far there hasn't been much interest in that. There was at the time, but then they kind of fell away, and you know, I don't know. That stuff's all like kind of riding a wave, and it feels like now either you wait 35 years and then you have Top Gun Maverick, you know, or you do it right away. But there's something about that sort of 8 to 10 years after. I don't know. It could be great, but it feels like, I don't know. It's case by case. You know, there are no hard and fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think the entertainment industry, especially with all the internal what's made and what's not and what's canceled and I do not envy your position of
we just try to make good things.
Making
like,
things.
okay, what's next? You know.
But you know, on that, so you've been in London for what, two years now?
I mean, honestly,
3 years?
I've been here almost 4 years now. I mean, the lockdown we spent in LA kind of by accident. Thank goodness we did, though, because you know our house is nice and comfortable there, and you know, the place we were moving into, we would have been in was like half finished, so we would have been living in a construction site basically. Yeah, but you know, because I did Last Christmas here, and then them have done this movie, even though we shot this new one, The School for Good and Evil, in Belfast, but we prepped and then we did all the post-production out of London, and I just love working in London. It's great.
Yeah, what's been, you know, so I recently read Robert Caro's How I Work.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been super fascinated with how people work and how people approach their work. And so you've been in London for, you know, a few years now. What has been like, what's been your typical day? Because you have your gin empire, Artingstall's gin empire. I mean, so like, what's a day in the life of Paul Feig been like?
I mean, it's been so production based that you know my general work day, which is you know at least 6 days a week. But in prep, it was just coming into the office, you know, about 9 or 9:30, working all day. You know, in prep, you're dealing with the art departments and just everything, all the departments, and kind of getting everything ready because it's like assembling an army, and especially when you're doing something this big, you're building so many giant sets and you're creating animatronic characters and giant props and all this sort of thing. So that, and then, when I'm in production, that's just, that's your whole day really. But I do French hours, this thing called French hours when I shoot, which means we do a 10-hour day. With no lunch. But then you pull the plug at the end of the 10 hours. There's no overtime or anything like that, which French hours has become a very dirty word in Hollywood because a lot of productions started doing it, but then they didn't stick to the rules. So they would just end up doing like a 15-hour day where nobody had lunch, Yeah. So it's like, if you're going to do it, you got to be responsible. You have to say like, folks, I know it's going to be hard. We're going to have food passing around the whole time, so you can go off to the side and have a sandwich or whatever. By the end of 10 hours, we'll go home. You can spend time with your families. You get a full night's sleep. You won't crash your car because you're exhausted on the way home, and we'll come in and do it all again tomorrow. So I stick to it very religiously, and have done every movie since Spy on French hours. And just, it's just a great way to work because you just get more done without a lunch break, because a lunch break becomes this sort of dip in the day, and it's hard to get people back up to speed after that, myself included. And this, you just power through, you're fresh the whole time. And then when you're going like, I'm getting tired, and you go like, and we're done. So that's my day. And, but then by doing that, it allows me I can go home and make dinner if I want, or go and have a nice dinner and go home, have a cocktail, or have the crew over and make dinner for them. Because, we were shooting this movie during the lockdown. And so I was in Belfast, and this really nice apartment had this giant kitchen. And so I have people over and like roast a chicken or make, dish of something. And we just, have cocktails and wine and eat and talk about the day and the next day, and go home and start it all again. So that's really fun. And then post-production now is just, we do it out of Soho. So, I come in at 9:30 in the morning, which is sometimes a walk because it's like a 45-minute walk from my house. Right. And we're here all day. And then, but what's so civilized is you're in the heart of Soho. I mean, there's a gazillion great restaurants around. So, work all morning. It's like my editor and I, like Brent, like, where should we go to lunch? Oh, let's go here. Go have a nice hour-long lunch and come back and, do the rest of our work until, 7 or 8 at night, and go home and have a nice dinner with my wife and cocktail, and it all starts again. So it's very, it really falls into a pattern, but it's a very lovely pattern. I've got no problem with it. And you have a movie on the on the other end of it.
Yeah. I mean, that especially, I think the one thing that stood out to me the most is I have a lot of friends that have worked in films and TV shows and movies, and having the crew over, generally there's an unfortunate divide at times between director and the underlings. Right. And I think it's great that like you were just no, it's like, it sounds like you're hanging out. You guys,
We
there's a
try. I mean, you
relationship.
can't have everybody over, obviously, because there's hundreds of people. I only got so many chickens. But yeah, we get like our main people, comes because we're, all the info kind of trickles down from us. But no, it's fun. I don't like to stay, separate from everybody. That's your team. It's fun. I mean, those are, every time you do a movie, you have a new family. And what's nice is as time goes along, there are certain family members you bring along each time, like, your cinematographer, your editor, your costume designer. Once you find people you like, you really hate to let them, to not have them with you. But sometimes the timing doesn't work out and they have to take another job. And that's always sad when you go into battle with, missing one of your trusted generals, if I may use a military equivalent.
Hey, no, I appreciate it. And like, what have you done to kind of like unwind? Because I know you've gotten some time off a little bit here and there, but like, is the wardrobe changing, or you got new suits in the works?
Oh, there's always new suits in the works. But I mean, honestly, I am kind of feeding off of the suits I've had made over the last 20 years. I gotta say, well, I think even this weekend I was just looking at the closet, going like, I'm bored of these, but I don't know. They're also nice, so they're bespoke, so they fit.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got to do like I had this happen, and I have a bunch of bespoke stuff that it doesn't fit as good.
Yeah.
Like I've been trying to hit the gym more. And so I've gotten like bigger here, or smaller here, or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start over. And I like more or less have axed, I'd say 90% of my wardrobe. And yeah. And a part of me has been a little bit frustrated at times, because I realize that I'm at an age now where I'm more comfortable with my style. Yeah. Like I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to axe most of this, but I just realized that I ordered a navy suit, a gray suit, and 2 navy, jackets. Oh, yeah. Like that's exactly what's in the pile. So like, have you had that urge to just like start over? I know a lot of people after COVID, they weren't wearing the same thing every day, and they were just like, I'm starting over.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to, but the problem is all, the suits are, amassed over the years. They're expensive, these, bespoke suits, and they're kind of made to last. That's what I love about bespoke suits. They're never in style, and they're never out of style. They're just, it's your style or the house style, but the house style is something usually you relate to. And so you just kind of have them do it. Right. So it's hard. I mean, every time I want to, what it is, all I do is kind of add to it, but then it's just really hard to axe one of your beautiful bespoke suits, especially I'm like you. I try to buy mostly very neutral, kind of, I mean, look, I'm wearing like a brown pinstripe, which is one of the more standoutish. Thank you. But, there's certain suits you can wear every day with different tie and pocket square, and people go like, oh, is that a new suit? And, because they just can't tell. But when you've got like a very distinct pattern, it's like, he's wearing that suit again. So that's why, even though I like really garish and loud suits, I'm kind of like, okay, then I can only wear them like once every month or whatever. So I guess I could wear them, and nobody really cares, but I care.
Yeah, I hear you. Like it's been, because at least around you, there's been a ton of new sort of like tailoring companies or London companies that have kind of popped up that are like leaning into this sort of a little bit more casual aesthetic. Like there's Anglo-Italian, which is, it's got all the soft shoulder stuff. Like, have you waded into those waters at all?
Well, I mean, look, I wear a lot of Isaia, which is very Neapolitan. Yeah, do a lot of like made to measure through them, and I love that. I mean, that's okay, but I still consider that to be, for most of this world, it's fairly formal, not the right word, but pretty dressy. So I don't mind that kind of thing. But I'm, it comes to like athleisure and, that super casual thing. I just can't do it. It just looks shitty in it,
Yeah, no, like I've axed the majority of the sweatpants and stuff. It's been tough to see some of the brands that like I love, which I won't like try to call out on here. Like you've seen some of these brands that were always very formal, and they've gotten really casual.
No, I'm with you.
And they're just like, oh, well, COVID. And you're like, well, how many different workwear jackets are we going to make here? Like, bring back.
Well, don't give in. Why are you giving in? Because they're giving in right at the moment when I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'm tired of wearing that stuff. Maybe I'll step it up again.
Right.
So so why, it's like in my business, when like a movie's been popular, a genre's popular. So they're like, let's do one of those. It's like, well, yeah, by the time it comes out, that genre's not going to be popular anymore. So you're just literally chasing them behind the elephant that they're cleaning up after in the circus parade. I almost want to bail on that simile, or what is it, metaphor, whatever it is.
That sweet smell of a new season of Fits. My Fits. My Fits from Standard and Strange. You know who I'm talking about. Whether you're in one of their stores in Oakland, Santa Fe, or New York, or you're browsing their shop online, Standard and Strange has become my go-to place for denim, boots, and, geez, practically everything I wear. This season, I'm making a few picks each week on our partnership, and I have been really feeling their recent collaboration with Blue Maid and Lauren Yates of Ponytail Journal. The Garden Suit, made in New York City with a beautiful brushstroke camouflage fabric milled in Japan. It's just a banger. Whether you're into incredible unlined chore coats or the pants, separate or together, they're just amazing. Check it out at standardandstrange.com. And while you're there, dig into their incredible selection from other brands like Orslo and Capital and the Real McCoys. Standardandstrange.com. Buy fewer, better things. That's standardandstrange.com. Okay, so you're ready for it. You're ready to get your watch. Whether you're celebrating a life event, you just want to flex, or you want to see some amazing watches, you gotta visit my friends at Topper Jewelers. Located in the heart of Silicon Valley, California, Topper has the watch you want now, the Grail watch for the future, and exclusive pieces you've never seen before. But right now, Topper has an exclusive box set edition of the incredible new Ultra Chron from Longines. By the way, this is how you revive a king. It has the original Longines high-frequency automatic caliber, an ultra chronometer certification for accuracy. It's water resistant to 300 meters, so you can do whatever your heart desires with it on. And did I mention the special box set is available in limited quantities exclusively at Topper Jewelers? So listen, get on over to their shop, or look, let's just be honest, visit them online if you want at topperjewelers.com. Check out the return of the Longines Ultra Chron at topperjewelers.com. That's TOPPER jewelers.com. Yeah. And then how's the gin empire been? Because I saw that like you're at Duke's now. Yeah. So like you've reached nirvana. Like where else do you go?
I've cracked the top ones. I know. I mean, when you got Alessandro Palazzi liking your gin so much that he literally posts about it, I'll just check out, No, and now it's just, trying to get it out so that everybody can get it. And we just closed a deal with a new distributor here in the UK, which we're very excited about. So that means we'll be able to get into more stores and more bars and more restaurants, because everything I'm in right now has been just me going to the place and going like, hey, would you carry this? So I'm carpet bagging quite a bit with my gin. Which I don't mind, and in the US, we're getting into a lot of places now because we're with a big distributor there who's kind of giving us a trial. So we're out in certain states like Florida and Texas and, coming into California very soon. So it's great. So the word's getting out, it's a slow burn to start anything in the alcohol business, because the regulations and there's just so many hurdles you have to go through just to legally get it cleared and get it through the FDA and all that kind of thing. And then just
the FDA.
Oh yeah, totally. Oh, they have to approve every word on your label, front and back. So like we had one thing that I wrote, like on the back of the thing, I wrote this dumb poem. It's like, because the joke is Paul Feig makes, maker of good movies, great gin, or good movies, bad poetry, and great gin. So I wrote this dumb poem, but one of the lines called it an elixir. And we were told we could not call it an elixir because yes, it has, medicinal qualities that you can't say the gin has, even though I personally feel that it does, but that's just me, the drunk guy talking.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's crazy. Like, has there been any big like wake up calls or like surprises of like getting into that industry? Because obviously it's totally different than films and storytelling.
Just how slow it is. Just, literally like, oh, we're coming out. Wait, we got to wait for this license. Okay. Half a year later. Do we get that license yet? Oh, it's coming next week. Okay. Half a year later. Is it in yet? Oh, it's coming next. It's like, oh my God. So, and the company I'm working with is great. There's Minhas Distilleries who are out of, Calgary, who are awesome. It's his brother and sister, Ravinder and Manjeet Minhas, and they're fantastic. And they, they have a huge business. I mean, I think they're the 7th largest brewers and distributors of beer in North America, but they make a lot of like affordable beers, but they make like the rum for Trader Joe's, and they make all these well spirits. But I was the first team up they did to make a premium spirit, because it was something I've been wanting to do for years. And they turned down a lot of like people in the business who wanted to do it, but they liked the lifestyle that I sort of represented and saw how deadly serious I was about gin. And so it happened. But, but it's just, it's so they know how to get through all the bureaucracy, and it's still taken us, 5 years to get even to where we are. And now we've got, so much further.
Are you preparing for your Casamigos moment?
Oh, wouldn't that be nice? It's funny though. I think so many people are getting in, trying it so they can get to that moment. But I think, again, that's like making a movie saying like, we're going to win an Oscar. It's like, if you're chasing that, just give up. I have such a passion for gin and what gin represents as an adult lifestyle, that's the goal for me. The joy for me would just to see my gin in places, on people's bar carts, or in really nice bars that I like, or in nice restaurants. That would be exciting, just to go like, oh, okay, that's mine.
Well, then it sounds like the goal's already achieved then, being at Duke's.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to pick Valhalla, it would be Duke's. So, so now you just want to kind of go, but we're like Claridge's, you can get us at Claridge's and like the Fumar bar, which is another amazing bar. And, I think we're probably going into the Connaught soon and stuff like that. So, so I pick and choose, the fancy.
And how has the London scene been for you in terms of, your culinary experiences? Where like in your typical day, like where have you guys been going to eat or like?
Well, we're always in Soho, during the day. So there's so many great places in Soho. I mean, between the Indian food and the Thai food and great French food, there's right next to our cutting room, there's a place called Blanchette that is just this amazing French bistro, and they're really nice in there. They serve my gin there too. There you go.
Hey, look at this.
I'm always selling, man.
Add it to the
I'm
stack.
always selling. Come on. Exactly. So there's kind of that. We got the sort of the funky, Soho scene for dinner, for lunch. But then dinner is, kind of everywhere, really. I mean, we love, there's a great place called Giovanni's of Covent Garden. There's an amazing Italian restaurant that I love. We go there so much that they named, I have my own dish. There's a chicken a la Paul Feig that they have, which is,
holy cow.
Because they always had this, it was like a chicken breast in butter sauce. And I would always order, but go like, can you make it with olive oil instead of the butter sauce? And I did it so much that they said like, we're just going to change it to that and name it after you. So I was like, oh, that's nice. So go on in and try the pollo I'm not sure how you say chicken in Italian, but the chicken a la Paul Feig.
Oh my God.
So there you go. But there's there's so many good restaurants in London. It's such a culinary town that it's, we kind of go everywhere, but we definitely got our place.
What are the like favorite places for you? You're on a trip, you're on a supersonic plane, and you're getting lunch in one place. Or you're getting breakfast, lunch, and dinner in 3 different places.
Okay. Oh, that's a good one. Let's see. I'll have breakfast at Claridge's Hotel, because that room is beautiful.
Okay. What's your breakfast?
There they do actually a really good like crushed avocado on toast. So avocado toast, as we know, but they'll do this long stem broccoli with chili flakes, and so you have that on the side, and it feel kind of healthy. I have it on gluten-free toast, and that feels really good with a nice orange juice or grapefruit juice and a lovely coffee. So I would do that. Then I would hop aboard the Eurostar and go to Paris to have lunch at Chez Louis Louis, which is amazing old bistro there that they make the world's greatest roast chicken. But everything, I mean, from, giant slices of foie gras and this bread that they, char in a wood burning oven, and then giant, escargot and frog's legs, if you're into that kind of thing, these frog legs Provençal, which are wonderful. No offense to any frog fans out there. Then they have the beautiful green leaf salad, and these French fries that are cooked in duck fat, and they're like potato straws almost, like, and it's just, you get a big bottle of wine and you'd sit there for 3 or 4 hours and just to eat yourself to death. So that would be my lunch. And then if I wasn't dead at that point, still alive, then I would get on a plane and fly to Los Angeles and get takeout, because they no longer have a restaurant anymore. But the Gardens of Taxco, which was an institution in L.A. for years and years and years. And it was right off of Santa Monica on Harper, for any of you L.A. fans. And they were famous. There was an old school Mexican restaurant, but they had no menus. So the whole thing was like the server would come and go, we have no written menus. And then they would do this monologue about the menu. And they had the same jokes every time. And my wife and I went at least once a week, probably twice a week for 20 years, and just laughed at the same joke every time. One of it was chicken alla crema. The chicken is so tasty. It seems as if the chicken was born in the sauce. But they would drag up born, really. And we we love that. And then, and then the other one's for the chicken mole. The chicken mole, comes in a something spicy sauce, not hot, spicy. And that was the joke. They would tell and we would laugh every time. It delighted the hell out of me. And I would go there and they claim to have invented the quesadilla. I cannot confirm or deny that. So you get that as a starter. And then you would get this little small enchilada with cream sauce on top. And then whatever you would order, it could be the chicken mole. My personal favorite dish in the world is this garlic shrimp that they make. That is just amazing. God. Yeah. And it comes with, I get it with a side of vegetables that they make and stuff like that. And then you get they had these, margaritas that were wine-based margaritas, and they were just spectacular. They were so tasty and just tart enough and just a little bit of sweetness, but absolutely wonderful. And then they'd end with this kind of not whipped cream, but like a custard, kind of a Mexican custard with bananas in it. And then they'd come around with pour you free shots of sherry, and you would have those. So that was amazing. And I'm building all this up. But the restaurant is no longer there. But what they do, yes, they closed because their rent got so high that they just is all terrible. All best things in the world get killed by terrible stuff like that. But what they did is they moved to another location where they only do takeout. But you can go there and you can get the dishes. It's not laid out the way it was, but they know you can't get that. I actually think they might do the margaritas for carry out now, but you have to drink them fast because they melt quickly. But you can still get the food, and so I will drive over the hill and drive half hour back to Burbank as fast as I can so it's still hot and have it. But that's the meal. That's my perfect day.
I mean, with the knowledge of all the food and culinary experiences here, have you ever seen yourself making something really specifically in that world?
I've tried. I mean, there was a Ruth Reichel book that I was going to make into a movie at one point and try to develop it. And then we had a hard time with it. And I love Ruth. But it didn't, I don't know. We couldn't make it work for some reason. So I don't know. It's hard. I mean, I would like to have food elements in a movie. I always feel I love watching movies.
Did you see The Bear?
No, everybody says it's great. So yeah, I gotta watch that. And I'm really close friends with Stanley Tucci, who's, obviously turned that whole thing from Big Night on to his, now to his CNN show. But, to get to have dinner at Stanley's house when he makes it for you is, one of the greatest experiences ever, because he's such an amazing cook. And his wife, Felicity, is an amazing cook too. She makes the best gnocchi I've ever had in my life. They are little pillows of air in his sauce. Oh my God. I mean, yeah, forget about it.
I'm glad to hear that you're friends with Tucci, because I know that there was a massive uproar over his Negroni, and you're like a Negroni stan.
Exactly. That's right. Exactly. No, I know. Well, but here I will defend Stanley, because from the lips of Alessandro Palazzi, the king of all things cocktail, because I have a bottle. We do also through my company. We do the Negroni. Yeah, exactly. So I did a video with Alessandro for it, and we were talking about ways to serve it. And so we did the standard on ice, but then he added an orange twist, but express the oil over the top, which just opened it up really nice. But then he said the traditional way to do a Negroni, actually, it started as a drink that was, a cocktail that was, shaken and then poured out, not on ice. And so he said, according to Alessandro, that's the traditional way to do a Negroni. Wow. So Stanley was not wrong. So all you cocktail snobs out there, if you want to take on Alessandro, good luck to you.
Bar fight.
Nothing better than a Negroni fight. Look how the shakers are out.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, the food stuff, I feel like there's still it's all I want to watch now. Especially after watching I watch 101 Places with Gabers and Pally, which is kind of like this comedy travel show that's less on the food and the experience, but more on like, and I feel like that's something now, like I just want to see people I like doing things that I sound stupid to say, but like that like normal people do. Like I'd watch a show with you where it's like, hey, I'm going to these restaurants and you eat at the restaurants. Like that's it.
Oh no, totally. It would be, I mean, one of the most fun things I ever got to do was back when Esquire had their own channel for, briefly. They did a show called, I forget what the name of it, but The Getaway. It was called The Getaway.
Esquire.
Yeah. And they would have every week a different, quote unquote celebrity, because I was one of them. So I'm not a celebrity, but but they basically, they said, pick a city. And of course, all the cities I picked, somebody had already picked, like Paris, London, all this stuff. But then I just finished the Heat, doing the Heat in Boston. So I was like, can I do Boston? They're like, sure. So I went out with, actually, it's Anthony Bourdain's company, 0.0. They did it. Yeah. So I went out with their crews who made it so easy. So literally just, here's the places I want to do and here's stuff. And, so they go, okay, show up here, sit down here, have these oysters and talk to the camera, and it was just the greatest experience because you show up, have the fun of doing the thing. And then they go, okay, take off and we'll meet, we'll see you in an hour at the next place. And it was fantastic. And I could happily do that for a career. On the food front, there's actually, I'll give a shout out to a podcast I listen to all the time here in London called Off Menu, which is by these two British comedians, Ed Gamble and James Alcaster. And the whole concept of the show is very simple. They're two very funny guys, but they have what they call the dream restaurant. Basically, you go on and there's one of them, James plays a genie, and it's basically you can have whatever you want for what is your dream starter, main course, side dish, dessert, beverage. And it's the most fun show to listen to. I listen to it just constantly on my walks in the morning, and it's just funny and fun. But it's so fun to hear what people's favorite foods are and what they would have if they were in some place that they could magically have whatever they wanted. Much like, well, you asked me what my perfect day out. So
yeah, sorry, that was
maybe
not
they stole it from you.
Maybe
they are time travelers who came into the future and heard this and went back.
Yeah, who knows?
But again, nothing's more fun than kind of talking about stuff we like to eat and drink.
Yeah, I mean, have you in terms of like your travel? Like, are you when are you back in the States? Like, do you see yourself moving back here for a while, or are you? I mean,
my wife
forever?
has declared she's never going back. So, and now the dog is here, so it's getting a little intractable, if you will. But look, my company's back in LA, so I'll go back and forth, and we have our place in New York, which I love. So I'll be all over the place. She's going to base out of here mostly, but we'll travel. I never know where my next movie is going to shoot. So I could end up in Italy. I could end up in Boston. I could end up in the North Pole. Like I have no idea. But I'll be back in LA in September or October, I should say, because my movie's coming out in October, on October 19th. Right. So we'll do a lot of press, and we have our big LA premiere there on the 18th, and then I have my cocktail books coming out in November, so I'll be doing a big press tour for that.
Wait. The cocktail book? Hold on. I didn't know this.
Yes, I have a cocktail book coming out. Cocktail Time, it's called. The Ultimate Guide to Grown-Up Fun by Paul Feig.
Wait. So how did this come about? I mean, is this based off of like the hundreds of
it started because of Cocktail Time. Everybody was kind of like, can you write down the recipes and and all this stuff. So during the pandemic, I was just like, I'll just start writing out the recipes. And then as I started writing it, I was like, why don't you give advice on this and like how to stock your bar and what to get, what you don't need, and what's the sort of the most low cost way to do it. And then it's like, people are going to want to throw cocktail parties when the pandemic's over, and like I have a lot of opinions on how to throw a great party and all that stuff. There was a whole big section about how to throw a cocktail party, the fun way, and then all the drink recipes. But then in the drink recipes, it was like, I've got kind of a personal story or a dumb story to tell with each one of these drinks. And so just kept expanding and expanding. And then William Morrow, publishing house, said they wanted to do it. And so I've spent the last couple of years doing it, doing a lot of drawings for it and doing a lot of photography for it and have my picture taken.
Wait, drawings?
Original drawings, exactly. I didn't do the photography. I'm in the photos, but I did the drawings. I actually drew the drawings.
Wait, I didn't. Did you have an illustration background?
Yeah, I was a cartoonist in college. I had a regular one panel cartoon every day in the Daily Trojan at USC, possibly one of the most hated comic strips ever in the world of cartooning. But I did it every day. And I loved it, but it was filled with stupid puns and really dumb stuff. And, but
Sure.
I worked for free. So what are they?
So you were making memes like pre-meme.
Well,
culture.
yeah, I mean, oh boy, I was the lowest rent Gary Larson you'll ever see. Like, The Far Side was brilliant. And then there was,
Comedy
then there was
God.
Paul Feig's Oatmeal. That was what it was called. Daily thing called Oatmeal. One week, the week that probably made people hate me the most, I did a 1 week salute to corn. And like at one point I wrote a really stupid poem and said it was by William Carlos Williams. And all these people were like, did he really write that? It's like, no. And they're like, why'd you put that on? Is that supposed to be funny that you're just saying you invented a William Carlos Williams thing about corn? I was like, yeah, I think it's funny, but nobody else did. So there you go. But I did it for 2 years every day.
I gotta find these. Like I've gotten really into I've gotten like really into old comics where like the other day I was reading like Andy Cap.
Oh God. Yeah.
Like, I mean, look, and I will say for the record, there are things in there that are not okay to joke about now in terms of misogyny and alcoholism. Right. But there's a few things in there that I'm like, oh, this is hilarious.
No, totally. Like that, and like the Lockhorns and all that stuff we grew up with. I'm older than you, but I mean, it was like, all the jokes were mother-in-law jokes and the coming home late, and the guy always has the lines on his nose, so he's been drinking, and it's like, wow, that's the world I grew up in. So you wonder why I'm into cocktails now.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah, I'm more flabbergasted by the illustration background, because I feel like even after the many times I've talked with you, I don't feel like that's ever popped up.
No, I don't lead with that.
Well, so we're here to talk about a film. Okay, well, let me talk to you about my early days illustrating.
Putting
comics.
out a collection, a coffee table book of my greatest terrible comic strips.
Yeah, you've done like so many different things. Like, do you ever see that like the importance of doing those things help sharpen you at storytelling or like movie making?
Nothing goes to waste. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I always say whenever I lecture to film students or young people, if you will, sound like an old man, is like just anything you're interested in, do it and get to know it and get good at it, because you'll use it all. I mean, especially if you're going into film to be a director. I mean, what don't I use of all, even the stupidest stuff I learned, juggling and tap dancing, it's all just skills that and you can kind of bring whatever, you've learned something about physicality and bring that into this, or like, there's something funny from that world that you can bring in. You do not get penalized for knowing too much. You get penalized sometimes for thinking too much, I will say, because you can think yourself out of doing anything if you really consider it too much. And I have way too much foresight, sadly, because I'm always like, okay, this can happen. But everything I've ever done has been, even though everything tells me not to do it, I'm like, you know what, let's just do it and just dive in. If you have a passion for it, because I've gotten burned other times where you go like, oh, okay, I'll do it, knowing in the back of my head, like, I don't know if I want to do this. And it always ends up being something I bail out of, or, go like, I shouldn't have done it. And I can't. So I got to get out of this, because I can't spend a year of my life doing something that.
Yeah. I mean, that's as an aside, like I definitely take a lot of that to heart, because like even now where it's like, man, I've been making this pod for 6-7 years now. I'm like, I can't be doing this when I'm like 50. You see me like Mark Maron, like yelling at the wall. Like, I don't know.
Do it. I mean, come on, man. Never say never. You do whatever you want. It's part of your empire.
There we go.
Don't give something up if it's working. Well, that's all I say. Just make room for it with the other stuff you're doing, which is why I've gone back to cartoon. I'm quitting making movies, and I'm going to go full time in the cartoon.
The full circle here. We are back to illustration. It's you sitting with a cup of coffee and hand drawn.
Nothing will keep me eating at Chez L'Ami Louis more than being a cartoonist full time.
Yeah, I used to work in the music industry, and we went out to lunch once. We were doing this project called Monkey Journey to the West, and it was Damon Albarn and Jamie Hewlett, they made Gorillaz together. So Jamie Hewlett's the cartoonist, and we were at lunch, and Jamie Hewlett was doodling on a napkin, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, And we left. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, that napkin, I should grab that napkin just because, I mean, it just looks really cool and it's amazing art. And I walk out and like, I get ready to turn around. I see Jamie turn around and come back in. He's like, I need to get my napkin. He's like, I don't want it to like go on eBay or anything. And he lost it. And obviously like that somebody, grab it. I imagine it was, no, I wasn't able to grab it. Plus I was like, we're kind of working together. I feel like it'd be awkward. You know, I wanted to ask his permission, but like it was gone. And so nowadays I still wonder like, you know, but it was like this beautiful, you know, little sketch of like people, like he drew us eating, you know, and it was like very, you know, elongated features and all sorts of goofy stuff. But like, I still love, you know, hand-drawn illustration more than
it's great. That's my favorite thing to collect are like paintings, you know, it just because it's the only one that exists. You know, I collect. I've got 9 paintings now, I think, from Danny Gagliotti, who's an amazing artist who used to be a Disney animator, and now he, you know, makes his money full time painting, and just beautiful stuff, but really whimsical stuff too. Actually, the logo for my company is one of his paintings, the first painting I bought from him. Which, if you see one of my productions, there's a picture of this, you know, a woman in a dress with these garden shears, behind her back. That's one of Danny's paintings, and we actually did a little animation on it for the opening of my movies. And but everything he does is fun. But you go, like, but that's a one-off. Like, there's only one of those that exists, and there's just something so fascinating about owning that. You know, it's in your house, and you feel bad. You feel like the rich guy, like sitting on the Mona Lisa or whatever. But you know, because you want to share it with the world, because art should be shared with the world. So hopefully Danny will have a museum tour, and I'll happily on loan from Paul Feig.
Yeah, there you go.
The Feigs, exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
I just want to be a benefactor. That's my only goal.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Paul, I know you got a lot of stuff to do today, so I want to thank you so much for your time. Three-time guest. Yes. Much appreciated. You're always incredibly generous with us, so it means a lot.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right. Well, it was good. It was good talking to you. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.
All right. Thanks again to Paul Feig for coming on the pod. His new film, School for Good and Evil, premieres October 19th on Netflix, and his upcoming book, Cocktail Time, comes out November 15th. Save the dates. Check them out. Thanks again for listening. Our episode was edited by Amar Lal, our music by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. If you want to dive deeper in the Blamoverse, come join us on patreon.com/Blamo with our exclusive shows, extra episodes, and our amazing Slack community. Have a lovely week, everyone. Stay tuned for more new episodes right here, and I'll see you very soon.